I've been meaning to get I want to get some like more voiceover people on here, and I figured you were on my list anyway to reach out to, and
Awesome.
so, yeah, I'm glad it worked out and our schedules worked out. So first of all, I just want to say I love your cats very much.
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, the pumpkin spice one just came up.
Okay.
He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, Effie will do that sometimes with me too. Before we jump in, I guess I don't usually do this, but I figure maybe introduce what you do, and maybe a few of the things you've been in and stuff like that.
Sure. As far as what I do a few different things. I'm a voice actress. I work at a kitten nursery. I cosplay mostly for fun. And sort of like an aspiring David Bowie impersonator, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's a good person to aspire to be.
Yes.
So what do you do at the kitten shelter?
Basically, we take care of orphaned newborn kittens. And right now, because it's kind of in between kitten seasons, we have some older cats, so we're not really bottle feeding. But when kitten season happens, then we bottle feed orphaned kittens and kind of like get them ready to be adopted or fostered.
Yeah. I feel like if I worked at one of those shelters, it would just be too tempting to adopt every single cat that comes in.
It's so hard. There's always some I want to adopt, and my roommate goes, "No, we have 4. You cannot have any more."
Right. So you have 4 now?
Mm-hmm.
And what are their names?
So there are Shiro, Mina, Jareth, and Siler.
Okay. And which one is the black one?
The black one is Mina, and she's afraid of humans because she was a stray when we adopted her. So it's very hard to get her to like come to me or not to run away.
Yeah. When I see pictures of her, I will link them to my wife because Mina looks just like our cat.
Oh, how cute!
Oh yeah. So I'm always like, they're twins basically. I love black cats.
I thought you had a black and white one for some reason.
No,
nope, I've seen
she's
pictures
all black.
Of your cat. Huh?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody.
Maybe you're mixing
else's
up.
cat.
Yeah, there's a lot of cats on the internet.
Cats of Instagram.
Oh yeah. I want to make a. I always want to show off pictures of my cat to the interwebs. Make her a star.
Yeah. Same with the one I'm holding right now, Jareth, who's the pumpkin spice one.
Yeah.
I'm always sharing pictures of him because he's just so adorable, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's so fluffy and soft."
The funny thing is, I wasn't really a cat person before, because my wife got the cat before we moved in together. And before that, I was like, I wasn't, I guess, that into cats. But when you have a cat around you all the time, I feel like a fool. Like, how could I not have loved cats before this?
That's what I hear constantly from people. Like, they're like, "Oh, I'm not really a cat person," because they never really grew up around them. And then, when they have to live with a cat, because I guess my dad wasn't a cat person before he met my mom, and now he likes cats.
Oh, and now I love cats. I think maybe it was because I guess I never had much luck with cats being like showing any sort of notice to me. But now I feel like I can what's the word? Vibe with cats better, because now that when I go to other people's places now, I find that I actually get along well with the cats, whereas before maybe it's just a way to approach the cat. I don't know, but
yeah.
But now this cat.
And if you heard that was him like jumping up on things around my room.
Oh yeah, Effie loves jumping on the desk when I'm doing things or up on the bookshelves. So
yeah, I opened my computer today and one of the cats had been laying on the keyboard, and so there was just like, it opened a Google search with just random letters and stuff.
Yeah. I think my cat once did that. I think posted on like my wife's Facebook or something like that. It was something like that. I forget. Or she like saw it and like she like posted it because she thought it was so funny.
And I bet everyone knew too. Cat people would know when they see that.
Oh yeah, they know exactly what that is. So what are you currently? I know you do cosplay and but what are you currently into? I guess maybe media wise. Like, are you watching or playing or doing consuming anything fun?
Well, now I started playing Fire Emblem Heroes because my character that I voiced just came out recently.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I didn't know, like, I had no idea when she was going to be released because they recorded everybody at once,
Right, right.
for all the characters and stuff. And I didn't know it was like a thing where they were adding characters because we usually don't really get any information because they want to keep stuff as confidential as possible, obviously.
Right.
So, then when I saw the game came out, I was like, oh, I'm in this, but I should like see. And I'm really glad that I double checked,
Yeah.
and knew that my character wasn't there at launch because then I could have gotten in really big trouble if I was like, hey, I'm in this.
I'm in this. Oh, Sacred Stones characters aren't out yet. Yeah.
Yep.
Have you played Sacred Stones?
I have not, but it looks fun.
It's really good. Have you played any of the Fire Emblems besides Heroes?
I haven't owned any. I've just like kind of messed around with
Dabbled
them a
with
little
them.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've always heard good things. I just never got around to picking one of them up.
Right.
And then for this one, I was kind of waiting to download it till my character came out because I didn't want to waste the orbs on like.
Yeah, you gotta get your character. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm so bad with like the gacha type games. Like I have the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one, and I'm always I keep trying to get the character Yoshikage Kira, who looks like David Bowie, and I cannot get that one. And I've been playing the game for so long, and I've tried and tried and tried. So I know that I would be tempted to spend the stuff. And then of course, I play Love Live, which I know you play too.
Oh yeah.
And I play Idolmaster, so I'm like really bad with getting addicted to those types of games where you're essentially gambling to get the characters you want. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, here we go. And I actually have a new account for Fire Emblem now because one of my Twitter followers was like, oh, I have a friend who actually like rolled your character at the start. So if you want it, we'll just make like a dummy account and transfer it to you. And I was like, yes, please. And
yes,
since
please,
I'd only started on the other one like a couple days ago, I'm like, okay, I guess it's not a big deal to lose my progress. But I had tweeted my friend code and like 100 people added me. So now I'm like, sorry, everybody's going to have to add me again.
Listen, Erica takes priority here. You gotta have her.
Absolutely.
Man, MOBA games just, they mess me up real bad. What do you play Idolmaster on? Is there an English version, or do you play like the Japanese version, or what?
No, but I do understand a fair amount of Japanese. So like reading games, because the JoJo game is like that too. Like,
okay.
The issue that I have is because it's been a while since I studied it and this and that, some of the kanji, I'm like, I don't know what this kanji is. But usually, like, just knowing what I do, I can get around pretty easy in these. And then there's also, like, guides online and stuff. I've been able to figure it out pretty much for myself, but I know people who don't read Japanese at all a lot of times find those really helpful. Because it explains, like, oh, these are what the menus are and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I know some people will use, like, those, like, it shows you all the buttons and what each one mean and stuff like that. I've been interested in Idolmaster, but since I can't read any Japanese, I guess I could maybe use a guide, but I think there was an English release at some point, but I think that's either not supported or gone. Because I know it used to be on iPhone, but I think something maybe they took it down or something, I don't know.
Well, it must not be for, like, the version that's out now, because I've never seen a translated version. I mean, I know people have, like, done fan translations on YouTube and stuff of the little, like, cut scenes, like when you max your bond with a character and stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the character Mika Jogasaki. She's basically my waifu. And so, yeah, I finally got a card of her because it was this lottery thing where you could pick a card that you want, which is really cool. I've never seen a game do that where it's like, oh, you just get to pick.
Oh, just like, so it's like a draw, but you get to actually choose the character?
No, it's a random draw normally, but it was just like a special event they did where if you got like a lottery thing, then you could choose like a SR that you wanted essentially.
Gotcha.
So of course I picked Mika, and I also cosplayed her at Anime Los Angeles.
Going back to JoJo, which I still have not seen, but I know you love JoJo, but I really have no idea what to think of it. Can you pitch JoJo to me? What about JoJo do you love?
There's a lot of things that I really like about it. I feel like it, for a while I was getting kind of, I guess, disillusioned with a lot of anime because I felt like a lot of it followed certain tropes and stuff like that. And I know there's a lot of stuff out there that's not like that, but it was like so much of the stuff that I was seeing, I was like, oh, I'm tired of this, like, just like fan service and like
me too.
characters and stuff like that. I don't know. I just like wanted something that was not that, I guess. And then some years ago, my friends were like, hey, you should check out this anime, etc., etc. And it's like manly men beating each other up. I was like, I don't know, that doesn't really sound like my thing. I mean, I'd vaguely heard of it before because I used to play competitive Street Fighter and I cosplayed Juri, and somebody had told me offhandedly, like, oh yeah, did you know she was based off a character named Jolene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? And it was like, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? That sounds like some like show that 4Kids would do or something.
Right,
you know,
it sounds like
mean?
a Bobobo kind of show. Yeah.
Yeah, people still ask me like, oh yeah, you like that show that's like Jojo, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's like, totally got a few too many Joes in there, but yeah, so then my friend showed it to me, and I was like, okay, I don't really get this, like, based on the first few episodes, but I'll give it a shot, whatever. So I watched some more of it, and then this was before part 3 even started to be animated, so it was like parts 1 and 2 were out, and then by the time I got to part 2, I was like, okay, I'm like getting into this, I like this, and then by the time I finished part 2, because of all like the feels and stuff, it had just it basically got me, and I was like, I didn't really know too much about like the community or the fandom or whatever, so I was just like talking to my friend, and the fandom definitely wasn't as big back then as it is now, but so I talked to my friend and I was like, oh, like, I heard there's other parts, I don't want to wait, blah blah blah. And he's like, no, you should read the manga and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, so I started reading the manga, and now that's like a big thing in the community. It's like, read the mango and stuff like that. But,
especially because there's so many parts now.
Exactly. So then I started reading, and then I got to part 4, and I don't know if you know too much about part 4, but for the longest time there wasn't a good translation of it available, and the translation available was basically like as if someone had run it through Google Translate from Chinese to English.
Is that the Duang thing?
Yeah.
Duang, yeah. Okay.
And so it had great lines like, who in face are you? And the rain sound like Juice-gay, and get a feeling so complicated. So there was a lot of memes and stuff that came from that translation. And I had messaged like a couple friends of mine. I was like, this doesn't seem right. What's with this translation? They're like, ah ha ha. No, don't read that version. Here's the good version that's like coming out, but it wasn't fully out yet. So some pages were still like the first parts were all translated with the good translation, and then I had to read the rest in Duang, and so there were like entire parts where they just didn't even bother to translate it, and so the stand cries just had like the one character, and people in the fandom call it Abaj, because that's kind of, it looks like it says like ABAJ.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, wow, this is
so that's what that quote's from. Get a feeling so I've seen that before. Oh, okay, so that's a JoJo thing. I gotcha. There's 4 parts out now, right? Did they announce a 5th season?
It's almost like for sure that part 5 is going to get animated by this point. And then the manga is on part 8 now. There's a new chapter coming out around every month. Sometimes they skip a month, but
okay. And how many years has that been going now?
Since 1987, which is the year I was born, and I am 29, almost 30, so that was almost 30 years of JoJo.
Hot damn. I need to get on that at some point. a lot of people say that they really got on board with part 2, but
Yeah.
I intend to watch all of it at some point.
Oh, of course. But like I
Yeah.
tell people, some people like they watch, and part 1 is good, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
some people watch it and then they're just not really sure, like, you know, what to make of it or whatever, and then they really start getting in, because you kind of have to get into the feel of the series. Like, a lot of it is over the top, you know, just sometimes people have to kind of get used to how it goes and just fully embrace the absurdity and the bizarreness. But I was gonna say another thing that I can use to sell it to you. Are you a classic rock fan by chance?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy classic rock. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any favorites?
Not. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm like an expert on it, but I know that a lot of the stands and stuff are named after different groups, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's pretty great. Like, one way that I always sell JoJo's to people as well is I talk about how in part 2, these 4 super muscular men come out of this pillar, and their names are Santana, Wham, Cars, and AC/DC.
AC/DC, yeah.
And then you
Nice.
have like Robert E.O. Speedwagon and Killer Queen in part 4.
Yeah. Which I hear they changed the names in the Crunchyroll translation. Is that right?
Yeah,
Something like that? Because of copyright and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you'll obviously like still hear them say what it's actually supposed to be, you know,
Right.
Killer Queen and stuff like that. But then the subtitles are like, My Deadly Queen.
Yeah, right. Oh man, everyone's always told me to get into JoJo, so I gotta get into that at some point. Just because that has such a sort of legacy. You still playing Love Live?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I play that all day, every day.
Who's best girl? Answer carefully.
Oh, it's Umi. Oh, it's
Yes, yes.
Umi. Yeah,
Correct
yeah.
answer.
Of course. I have not stopped playing. I think there was a period where I was maybe gonna stop, but then they updated it and added a whole slew of new like achievements and like a whole bunch of different new things. So I'm suckered back in, and I don't see myself quitting anytime soon.
Right? It's just like the Pokemon Go update recently, how a lot of people are like, we're not playing it as much because there's nothing really new. And then finally they're like, haha, surprise, new Pokemon, guys.
Oh yeah, I have not gotten back into it, but have you? How is the new update?
It's good, it's good. I probably should make my way to the Santa Monica Pier at some point, which is like an hour away from me, but there's so many good Pokemon. Like, my favorite Pokemon is Gyarados, so when I was trying to like catch all those hundreds of Magikarp to get my Gyarados, I would go there.
Yeah.
I mean, just it kind of sucks because parking is expensive around there and stuff, but there's so many. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Pokemon Go players out there now that the new update is out.
Right. Yeah, since since I'm in Michigan, the weather has not been kind enough for me to be going around, but I think maybe next month I might get back into the game, especially because the new gen is out. So one thing I wanted to kind of talk about is that you started the voice acting club?
Yes.
And so that's kind of like the sort of, I guess, revival of the what was the previous forum?
It was still called the Voice Acting Club, but basically over the past 3-ish years, maybe, it just kind of nobody was really around to maintain it, and it was just being overrun with like, this and that, and there were too many, just the way the board was structured wasn't going to work anymore, and it was beyond the point of cleaning up. So we're like, okay, what if we just reboot it into a brand new community? We'll have like, a little bit different rules to kind of make more of a focus on like original content, and I guess, like have it be taken more seriously, etc. And there are less of the social forums on it because back when the VAC was started in 2005, 2006-ish, like Facebook wasn't really that much of a thing. I don't even know if Facebook was around. Like, I know MySpace was the big thing back
Facebook might have been
then.
like on the very early stages. But maybe that was like when like only like certain college students could use it. Probably around that point.
And I don't remember like Twitter really being a thing. So people would go to forums to social. I remember it was like forums and like LiveJournal where I would socialize on the internet and stuff. And, but now that there are all these places for people to go and do like social media, like I remember we would actually have a forum for people to post pictures of themselves back on the old VAC, and they would just see, and you'd see like a woman post a thread and it would be 6 pages long, and then a guy post a thread, he got maybe 1 response and was like, cool bro, or whatever. But I mean, now people have their social media for that, so we don't really need that kind of stuff on the forum, and it helps, I guess, just keep it from being overrun with like drama and unrelated things.
And keeping it a little more professional, I guess, in terms of the atmosphere.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Some people were upset about it, but most people were like pretty happy about the fact that we're like not allowing traditional fan dubs. I mean, if someone wants to do like a comic dub, or if somebody wants to do like machinimas or like parodies are okay. But we're basically like saying, if it's just something where you're taking footage from something that exists and you're just redoing the dialogue, like, I don't know, we just don't, it's so easy for boards to be overrun with those, and we just don't want that to kind of be the thing, because people would complain about that all the time because there are like casting call sites online where people do stuff like that, and that's like all it is. So people are like, well, like, even if they're cool with auditioning for work that doesn't pay, they're like, well, I want to like do stuff I can actually put on my resume. I want to,
original stuff at least.
Yeah. So it's not like, so we are allowing like fan content. Like, I know there's a lot of people who post like Five Nights at Freddy's, like fan games and stuff like that. So like that's okay. But if somebody's like, oh, I'm going to redub the entire first season of, whatever show,
Naruto or something.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, a lot of people just don't finish those projects. Like, I'm sure you remember, I started a lot on the VAA, and there are always people who are like, oh, I'm fan dubbing the entire series of Evangelion. I'm like, no, you're not. You have no idea how much work
you're
that
never
takes.
Gonna finish that, right? Commit to one thing first and then maybe go on. But a lot, and that goes for like a lot of things on the internet. Where people will just, I'm going to do this entire thing. You're not going to do that. Yeah.
And I mean, I may or may not have in my early days actually produced full episode dubs of things, and it's a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And you've been on the active on the internet for quite a while. And it's been very cool to see kind of like how your career has risen through the. Oh yeah, I mean, but seriously though, it's actually very impressive. Kind of like watching like seeing where you're at now and where you started. And I think having something like the Voice Acting Club is a good thing for people who are just starting out or who don't know where, because a lot of people will ask. And I'm sure you get a lot of questions like this too. Oh my gosh,
I'm sure you do too as well.
Oh my god, all the time, which is fine, but it's pretty much just like, how do I start voice acting? Start voice acting and practice and,
Yeah, and people would say like, well, how do I, especially if they live in the middle of nowhere and this and that, and they don't want to do these pay-to-play sites because they don't have any experience yet. And stuff. And so I'm always telling people like, oh, do it online as a hobby, but it was like, with these sites down and stuff, where could I was like, yeah, you can look for stuff on like YouTube and Tumblr, but then I heard recently the VAA went down as well due to malware, because when the VAC kind of just like fell apart, it was like, well, there's like the VAA, there's like castingcall.club now as a thing, but then people were like posting, I saw a post going like, we really need resources now that the VAA is down, and it's like, where are we gonna go? And there is like the casting call site, but like people said, it seems to be like mostly fan dubs that are posted there from what I've seen. And for people who are, or especially people who are kind of like maybe like in between. Like sometimes they're doing professional work, maybe they're doing some indie games, but they're looking for more work along that lines. It's like, where are they going to go, right? So I hit up some of the old admins and I was like, so, like, am I crazy or should we do this? And then I just put out a tweet to see, and it got like 200 likes or something. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So that became a thing. But right now, the issue is that we're trying to get more content creators to join because we had a really big surge of new members when on January 1st, the official launch happened. We had like a sort of like a pre-launch before that. But the issue is trying to get more people to post projects and I don't know, just getting the word out. Because I feel like there's a lot of indie game developers, for instance, who just don't know where to go for voice talent.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of people who will kind of be like, oh, I can help you. And there are a lot of, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of legitimate people who are up and coming casting directors and this and that. I know some of them and they're great. But then there are also a few of them who will happily take the person's money if they don't know better and just give all the roles to themselves and their friends. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I want other options so that people don't feel like that's their only way to go, as if somebody approaches them and is like, I can cast this project for you. Because again, there are a lot of people who are legitimate who do that, but some not so much.
Yeah. Well, I hope it continues, because I think it's a great resource, especially, well, not even just for beginners, but I mean, beginners especially can sort of get some experience, because one thing I always say is that you never know what one thing will lead to. Like, if you do one project, you don't know what will come from that if that gets attention or someone notices that.
Skullgirls used to be like an indie game.
Right, and now that's a huge thing now. That just didn't that get Japanese voices now?
Yeah, which is so cool.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the woman who played Marie in Japanese is she was actually in another fighting game that I've played a bit, Under Night, In Birth, etc., etc. I always forget the full name, or like Uniel, I call it. But yeah, she played a character in that, so I was like, oh, cool. But what's I gonna say? Oh yeah, or the other thing too, like ideally my goal is to kind of have it be people of all levels. Like we have some professionals, we have like some sort of like semi-professionals, we have aspiring people, and also to have a resource, like we have a help forum and stuff like that. So if someone's like, hey, how do I do this thing in Audacity or whatever, they can post there and people will respond and be like, oh, I had this issue too, or here's how I did it. And we have like guides, like I wrote a guide, because people are always like, well, how do I make a demo reel? And I'm like, well, this and that. Or if you're like actually going into the industry, you need a demo reel like produced professionally. But if you're doing like online projects, I mean, don't spend like $2,000 when you're not ready. If it's just for online stuff, you can make your own, but there's a way to do it. Like there's still certain conventions that you have to follow, essentially. So I go, like talk about how to do that and where you find your material and all this kind of stuff, because otherwise it's like people will message me or message you like randomly on social media and be like, how do I do this thing? Which, I mean, that's fine, but it's like we don't always have time, you know what I mean, to like answer when like 50 people are all messaging being like, how do I record my voice on my computer or whatever. So
especially when it's the same question over and over again.
Exactly. So
what mic do you use? What's your setup? I have an FAQ, but people don't read it. So
right. And the thing is, it's like the equipment that, like for example, I do this for a living or for a good part of my living. So like my setup is going to be a bit more expensive because I upgraded to that after years, but I'm not going to be like, no, you don't have to buy this expensive setup if you're starting out and doing voiceovers for YouTube. You just need something that sounds good and isn't going to make you sound like you're recording with a potato or whatever. So, but there's whole threads like that where people talk about like the equipment that they have and use or used to use and if they like it or not. So it's like that way you're also getting multiple people's opinion, not just one person.
Yeah, it's good to, especially when you're starting out, get to know other people who are trying to do the same thing you're doing. And so because I've met some, very, very talented, nice people on Tumblr, and, now, I've, managed to meet a lot of really talented, cool people that way. And so it's good to have a community somewhere you can kind of, you know, get feedback, get advice, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
and actually I
so
know
good.
somebody that you voice act with a lot, Tamara, Total Spiffage. Like I
Oh
met
yeah,
her
she's
on
great.
Tumblr through the Homestuck community because I
Right.
had like a little production group of people who would do Homestuck comic dubs and stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And and thank you for I've reached out to you a couple of times to help me, and
yeah.
I'm always like she's so good.
You
I'm
should
like,
link me to the ones that you finished
oh,
because like
absolutely,
I'm not
yeah.
really active on Tumblr. Like I need to produce. I have a couple JoJo comic dubs that have just been sitting there and I need to produce, like even like Antfish is in one of them and stuff, and like
Mm.
I don't know, just I've been busy. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah, of
I
course.
know people who are busier than me, so I feel like I just have issues with time management.
Mm.
Cuz I mean like for example, I'm so bad about like going to the gym. I mean, I do try to go pretty often and
Hmm.
stuff, but I'm always like, "Oh, I'm so busy today with work." It's like, "Okay, well, one of my friends from the JoJo community works 12 hours a day and she still finds time to work out and like play fighting games and practice, just like do all this stuff that I'm like, I don't have time to do this." So I'm like, "Okay, maybe I just need to like get my stuff together."
And I think it is a lot of it is just kind of discipline too, like really forcing yourself to stick to it, whether it's going to the gym or the creative process or something like that.
Right.
Which is harder than it sounds.
Because
But
it's so easy. I'm like, oh, but this Love Live event is going on right now. And I took, like, right now
exactly.
there's Yohane and I need her.
So is she your how do you say it? Akors? Is that how you say
Aqua,
it?
as far as I know.
Aqua? Oh, it
Yeah.
says aqua.
Aqua,
Okay.
like water.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they're
It's
all, like,
spelled
about the
totally differently,
water.
but
I don't know if it's,
aqua.
like, supposed to be, like, a French pronunciation. It's kind of like how, like, Muse sort of looks like use, but it's pronounced Muse,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing. But, yeah, I have a
Okay.
lot of favorite girls. It was so... Because I don't even know, because I also really, really like Rico.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I do like Rico, but I also like I think Mari is very funny.
Yeah, I
Uh
love that she's
yeah.
part Italian, because I want to go to Italy at some point. A lot of that is because of my JoJo obsession. I'm terrible, but
No, man. I mean, if that's what you want, don't be ashamed. Go for it. Go for what you want. That's what I
yeah,
always
I
say.
want to go because there's like a big Comic Con sort of thing there every
Oh,
year, I
okay.
guess, and there's like a ton of JoJo cosplayers from what I've been told. So I'm like, I want to go. And then I heard that Araki even showed up at it one year, just like not as a
Oh,
guest, but just like went,
oh, he was just there.
yeah,
Oh,
just kind of lurking. I heard he did that at AX one year too, like way
cool.
before I ever knew about JoJo, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
ah. I
What if
really
you
hope
met
they get
him?
him. Oh my gosh. Like, if they ever get him for Anime Expo, I would just, like, I would camp out. If I have to bring a tent,
Yeah.
because it's so hard with big guests to, like, get their autograph because,
Oh, yeah.
the last guest that I was really excited about for AX was, I think, 2 years ago, and it was Daisuke Ishiwatari, who's the creator of Guilty Gear, which is, like, my favorite
Oh,
game
okay.
franchise, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I was like, we had to get up so early and wait in line and this and that. But I was dressed as one of the characters from Guilty Gear, and he looked up and he was like, wow. And so I felt super excited.
You like melted on the spot, I'm sure.
I did. And I
Yeah, yeah,
asked
yeah.
him what his favorite Queen song was because he's a big, I feel like he and Araki would be good friends. I don't know if they ever met, but like he did reference JoJo at one point in Guilty Gear and just
Oh,
a
okay.
ton of classic rock references. Um yeah, lots of Guns N' Roses references, which is one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
But he really, really likes Queen, like most Queen references of anything. So, so I asked him like, "Oh, what's your favorite Queen song?" And actually, my best friend and I did a panel at ALA where we talked about like classic rock references in anime and games and stuff.
Oh, cool, cool. I know you were trying to get a JoJo panel, and then did you manage to do it, right?
Not that year, the following year.
Oh, not that year, the following year. Okay, gotcha. Man, Araki and I have not read JoJo, but that man is a handsome vampire.
Yeah,
he's immortal apparently.
Ages.
Yeah, some people are just like that. Keanu Reeves.
He used the stone mask. Like David Bowie aged, but he still looked stunningly hot.
He was like a fine wine, bro. Like oh yeah. He just got better and better, and some men are like that, and women too. Some people are they just get hotter and hotter. Doesn't matter through the ages.
I mean, I feel like all ages of him were hot in different ways, like because I really, really like that. I love like the Ziggy look with the mullet and stuff, but I liked his later looks as well, and then of course in the 80s the Goblin King look.
Yeah. Oh, David Bowie, he was a specimen.
Yes, a fine one. Can I research that?
So you actually and you did you grow up in Alaska? Is that right?
Yeah.
And so what is Alaska like? Can I just ask that? Because I've never, like, I just have this, I don't even know what Alaska is. I mean, what area in Alaska did you grow up in?
I'm from Anchorage, which is where a lot of people live who are from there, because it's the major city, basically. There are a lot of other areas. It's the biggest state. Everyone thinks Texas is the biggest state, but it's
Alaska's
Alaska.
huge.
Yeah. And, but, I mean, Anchorage is, like, the biggest city, and so a lot of people live there or around that area. And it's actually pretty similar. Like, I mean, people kind of imagine it's just this wasteland with ice and snow and this and that.
Polar
and I mean,
bears, yeah.
Yeah, it does snow a lot in the winter, and it does get really cold. But, I mean, it doesn't snow all year round, at least in the part that I'm from. And it's not, like, dark all the time. I mean, it's dark a lot in the winter, and then it stays light later in the summer, but it's not like people are thinking of like the North Pole where they get months of that, and that's not where I'm from. It's not like that. But yeah, it's like a lot of the same stores and restaurants and all the kind of stuff that we have everywhere else we have up there too. Some stuff it took longer to add, but they're just kind of like building it up and this and that. There's still communities for different stuff. Like there's a Pokemon community that's pretty strong. I used to be one of the gym leaders for them.
Oh, okay.
I helped out with like a Pokemon Go event while I was up there. We have really big anime community now. There's gaming communities. Like I used to be a part of the fighting game community up there and the Smash community, and now I know like the stuff for like League of Legends up there is really big. I don't play that, so I don't know too much about it, but
yeah. Okay. How often do you manage to go up there?
2 or 3 times a year.
Okay, cool. How long is that flight?
It's hard to say because there's a stop along the way. Like I always stop in Seattle or Oregon.
Okay.
Maybe like 6 hours ish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That I would like to go there at some point, just because I hear I had a friend of a friend who lived there, or I think probably still lives there, and so it seems very like a nice. I hear the scenery in some areas is just beautiful.
Oh,
so,
absolutely! I miss that because now that I'm in the LA area, it's like it's so crowded and like traffic and parking is a nightmare, and I'm just like I don't like dealing with that. And we don't have sales tax up there, which is so nice.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah, because here it's almost 10%, so it adds up. Like sometimes, because I'm a makeup junkie, so sometimes if I know I'm going home, I'll do a big Sephora order and just have it shipped to my parents' house so that I don't have to pay sales tax.
Right.
Pro tip right there.
It's smart. Man, no sales tax. Oh, It's nice.
I mean, who knows how long that'll last, but...
Yeah. So, going back to... because I like to ask people this. So, what did you first start doing on the internet? I'm not even talking voiceover. I'm talking about what brought you to the internet in the first place.
Well, I started on like AOL when I was a kid.
Yeah, instant messenger and stuff.
Yeah. I used to want to be, like, I used to want to work with computers and do website design and stuff. So I taught myself HTML when I was really young. And then, of course, things kept evolving and I couldn't really keep up with it. But I used to make websites about, whatever I was into, like bands or this or that.
Yeah, like fan sites and stuff.
And
like
I remember
GeoCities.
Yes.
Yeah.
GeoCities. And I remember guest books, for example, were a thing back in the day, and so I would always get things like, I hate your website, it sucks. And I'm like, Mom, someone said my website sucks.
Man, the GeoCities community is vicious.
And it's funny because now I'm a voice actress, so I deal with hate almost every day. And
oh yeah. I get my fair share of that too. It's you eventually just kind of get accustomed to it in a sad sort of way, or at least I do. I don't know. How do you deal with hate comments on the internet?
Well, it's funny. I was reminded of your video where you were like reading YouTube comments, like you were reading negative YouTube comments. It was so funny. Some of them are really funny. Some of the ones that I get. So. But there are actually a few that can be kind of hurtful. Like most of them, like whatever.
Course,
like if someone says they don't like my voice in something, you're like, oh, the Japanese voice is better, because that's the thing you'll always get. Oh, the Japanese voice is so much better. And I feel like with a lot of those cases, nothing like they could literally have like if the Japanese actress was bilingual, they could literally have them like do both the Japanese and English versions, and they'd hate it because it was in English if they didn't know. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Or if they got if they got Meryl Streep to do it, they'd be like, oh, just not as good.
Oh,
as
the performance
Japanese.
Is terrible, or what? You know, it's like
exactly.
No matter how much, because a lot of times, like we are listening to the original line for each line we do and stuff, and so it's like, but people are just very, and I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's some things that I'm really into that are just like too weird for me to watch or play in English because I'm just so used to the original voices and stuff. And I knew for sure that Love Live would be like that for people because the game and the show had been out for a long time. Like, I was addicted to the game, way before I ever auditioned.
You were already a fan, Yeah.
But, like, I think the times when it starts to hurt a little are when they make it personal. Like, it's not about my performance, but they make it about me as a person. So, because I remember there were a few of those for Love Live, and they actually like went through all my personal accounts, and they were trying to find things to attack me over, and
jeez,
like stuff like that, or like when they like find my cosplay pictures, and they're like, oh, she's so fat and ugly, I can't believe she voices my waifu, she totally ruins her. Like stuff like that. It's like I feel like people don't realize that we read this stuff. Like, I mean. Maybe if you're really big and famous, you don't, and people always say, like, don't read the comments, never read the comments, but it's so hard because you always want to see, like, if I voice a character or something, I always want to see, like, on Twitter, oh, what are people saying about the character or whatever, and, there's always somebody who's like, ew, I can't believe that, like, that girl from Brawl Taunts is voicing my character, gross, or whatever. But then there's like 10 other people who are like, that's so awesome. I was a fan of her on Newgrounds back in the day. But it's like you read the 1 out of the 10 that's bad, and that's what you think about.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean, yeah. Although I think at this point I have read, I think there was a period, and this was maybe like because my audience, I guess, kind of skyrocketed out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but kind of grew to a bigger extent than I was anticipating. And the comments were rolling in. And I know what you mean in that, like, one comment, you can get, like, 20 glowing comments. And then one comment, you'll be like, fuck. You just think about that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But
yeah, and it's hard, too, when they... I mean, I'm not sure if I would imagine it's worse for women in terms of this, but I feel
Oh,
like
absolutely.
people attack like the way I look and stuff, and it's like, but I'm not putting that out there for you to
Yeah.
critique. Like, I mean, yeah, like I have a cosplay page or whatever, but it's like just on unrelated, like stuff that's not even related to that, like stuff that's related to my voice acting. People will be like, oh, like she's so fat and ugly and her makeup is terrible and like this and that. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with the way I play this character? Like, I don't
Right. Well,
understand.
people are just they're just petty. I mean,
That's true.
and although I would say, a good chunk of the internet is just petty and just wants to get a reaction out of you. But overall, I'm sure you get good comments because I think you are very talented.
Yeah, I think it is a matter of like and also the vocal majority kind of thing where a lot of times if people like the dub of something and they don't care, they're just not going to say anything. They're not going to be like, "Oh yeah, the voices were fine" or whatever unless it's specifically a discussion about that. But if people hate them, they'll make sure to post everywhere like, "Oh, dubs are ruining everything, blah 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 blah."
Tweet it out,
Yeah.
right.
Like they're going to be a lot more vocal when they're negative, I feel like,
right.
overall. But I mean, I've noticed that too. Like some of the stuff I had to disconnect from because I'm like, these are generic insults that they just use for especially women whenever they don't like something they do. It's like you can't even go to, say like a video of a woman giving a speech or something, no matter like how intelligent and well thought it is, without somebody like critiquing the way she looks. It's just, people are so like, I've seen them call like the most gorgeous cosplayers and actresses ever ugly and stuff because that's like the way they tear somebody down who they don't like.
There's just a good section of the internet that just they just want to be it's like they're screaming to be noticed in a negative reactionary way, and it's just gross.
Yeah, I think it makes them feel like more powerful or something, like, oh,
right,
I know that, if I call this person ugly, it will probably make her feel self-conscious, and then I win because I tore down someone else's self. It's like whenever people, I'm just like, why don't you focus on bettering yourself?
Yeah.
Like, I remember there was this one guy, and a lot of them are aspiring voice actors themselves, and that's why I'm like, you don't realize that these things that you're saying, like, these could be, like, future peers of yours. Like,
of course,
these people could maybe direct you in something. Like, there was this one guy who was just, like, very awful to me about a performance of mine in Death Battle, the one episode that I did.
I think I saw the tweets about this.
And he was like, it wasn't like constructive criticism. It wasn't even, because even if someone's like, I wasn't a fan, I'm like, okay, cool, that's your deal. But he was
right.
straight up awful about it. And then he like tweets at the creators and he's like, hey, can you cast me in this? I'm an aspiring voice actor. And they're like, yeah, let's look at all the times that you insulted our actors that we cast and directed, and now you want to be in it? Like, no.
People don't understand that your reputation, especially if you want to be in a creative field, is very important. And I don't understand the logic behind insulting someone who is an established voiceover person. Like, what are you thinking? Like, first of all, you're just severing that contact completely. And then you're also just making yourself look bad, and it will come to get you at some point.
Exactly.
If you have a bad attitude and bad reputation.
Mm-hmm. And nobody's saying that you can't be critical. Nobody's saying that you have to think everything is great, but you definitely have to keep in mind how you express those opinions. And, because there are things, like there are certain dubs of things or this or that where I'm like, this was not good. This, I can straight up say, I did not like this, but a lot of times I have to keep in mind, it's not always the actor, because sometimes they can be very good actors, but maybe they're misdirected. Right. Maybe they don't have context for the lines, because I know I've worked on games where we just didn't have any context, so the lines sound out of place. Or sometimes even like people, like the clients will be like, no, we want it said this way, or like, I've worked with people especially on indie game projects and this and that, where maybe they didn't really have directing experience. So their way of directing me was they're like, okay, now I'm going to say the line and you just say it the way that I said
line
it.
reads.
Yeah, which is cool for like parodies and stuff. Like if I'm doing like a bridge series or this, I'm like, yeah, by all means give me line reads, because I feel like when you write it, you know the comedic timing and delivery, and a lot of what makes it funny kind of hinges on that. But, you know, when it's like a game or something and it's like, okay, well, are you sure you don't want this performed? You just want, because a lot of times they're not an actor themselves and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I'll give you what you want, but sometimes when they give like this really, like their line read is like, no, we can't go in there. And it's like, okay, if you want me to say it like that. But then of course, like, guess who people rip apart? It's the actors. So. Yeah.
Especially now that I've also, you know, done my share of voiceover, I am much more forgiving, or at least much more like if I listen to a performance in something where I'm like, that's a little shaky, I give the actor at this point the benefit of the doubt, because so many factors can, whether it's the director or whether it's just a bad script, frankly, or whether it's
bad scripts, or something that I like to bring up too, because a lot of people, a big reason that you'll see given for why people don't like anime dubbed is because they're like, oh, the deliveries sound awkward. And I can actually agree with that. Like, a lot of times the deliveries are awkward, but there are a couple reasons for that. Like, for one, you are very restricted by timing. So, you know, a line that, for example, would maybe say, like, we'd say quicker, like we'd just kind of throw it away or whatever when talking to somebody, that obviously has to fit the mouth. It has to fit what's going on screen. So you're limited by that. There's also the issue of, just because the languages are different, and, you know, I speak a decent amount of Japanese, so I can, you know, kind of get what's going on when we watch the original preview and this and that. And obviously, like, one of the things in Japanese, because it's just like structured differently, it sounds completely normal to like pause in the middle of the sentence or to like trail off and then finish it. But like in English, it doesn't really work to have this big hitch in the middle of the sentence. Right. So, you know, and sometimes, I don't know, like, I know a lot of good script writers now who just kind of, they find a way around that to still keep the meaning of the original line, but make it just flow more naturally. But when you have a line like, I'm trying to think, like, I really like cats. They're just so cute. Like, it's very hard to sell that delivery, but you have to, because there's pauses in the animation. Yeah. So it's you know, I think people aren't really aware sometimes of, or sometimes the other issue is the script will just be written really close to translation, like really direct translation, and sometimes that's what the client wants, so there's no way around that. But you know, sometimes you'll just be delivering a line and it's like, people don't talk like this. And a lot of times if I'm in the booth, the director is like, they'll realize that and they're like, yeah, let me rewrite this real quick so it still has the same meaning and fits the picture. But, you know, sometimes you'll have a line where it's like, nobody, you know, if I'm playing like a 16-year-old character and they're using certain words, I'm like, I've never heard somebody talk like this.
It's like way too literal of a translation.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
like
word that I'm looking
Google
for.
Translate.
Very literal translation.
Right. Yeah. I also find that I think a lot of directors, they have an idea of how anime dubs should sound, and maybe they listen to like a lot of anime dubs, maybe even some older anime dubs, and I mean, a lot of dubs, and I think dubs are a lot better now, but back in the day, the dubs were a lot less natural, I think, in their delivery.
Absolutely.
And I think
I used to be like a pro at like the anime schoolgirl voice, like that. I thought I was a normal high school student, but then I discovered I had magical powers and stuff like that.
Right.
And now it's like, people would laugh, you know, people have come to expect like a better delivery, you know.
Quality,
so, But it's like, back in the day, that was just how it all sounded, so no one really thought.
Right.
But now, especially that people can go on Crunchyroll or, like go on Netflix and they can like see the original episodes in Japanese so easily and so quickly, and they can see it before the English version even comes out. They're not like waiting for DVDs or VHSs or whatever. So I feel like that has also made people more critical because they have such easy access to the original media.
Okay. Yeah. And anime dubs have just come a long
Absolutely.
way. And now I think that they're at a point now where they are, I think at least, good.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have hits or misses like with anything, but
right.
But yeah, like the acting style like you were talking about, and I know that some projects are definitely trying to move away from that, but again, it's like because of the way the mouths are and this and that, it's like it's just sort of lends itself to like a bigger, more over the top style in general, I would say. And I've actually had issues with that when doing stuff that's like not anime or JRPGs, like stuff that's more realistic, as they call it, like cinematic acting. And I've been like working with one of my mentors on trying to get better at those kind of reads, and he's always like, why are you projecting so much? And I'm like, because I'm always being told to project more when I'm doing anime. So it's like you do, if you're always being told that, you just start doing it and you're like, okay, I guess I need, like, my level needs to be up here as the default or whatever. And then you're doing something that's not that. And they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Where you're having an everyday conversation, you're not, proclaiming your like love for a character. You gotta dial it back a little bit.
But even sometimes in anime, like in a scene where it's like two characters more intimately talking, and they will still want it kind of. I would say that the level is generally raised for anime than it would be
heightened.
So then if I'm doing like, I don't know, I don't really get a ton of opportunities to audition for like Western style games or this or that, but I know a big thing with that is they just want it to sound like humans talking to each other. So that's something I'm trying to get better at.
Not cartoony, just kind of everyday.
For sure.
Yeah. I will say one more thing in defense, I guess, of especially dub actors is if you listen to the Japanese voices in anime, they are very heightened in their emotion, in their delivery. So I think it's easier for people to be like, oh well, in English it sounds so exaggerated, but in the Japanese it sounds so normal. But really, if you listen to their performances, and this isn't a bad thing, but they do project a lot, and they do have very kind of over the top performances. But because it's in a different language, and it just, I guess it's not as noticeable.
Yeah, because I tell people too, it's like, if it's not your native, like even if you understand some Japanese, like this or that, if it's not your native language, you're not going to know whether the delivery sounds natural or not. And I mean, like from what I understand, the performances do tend to generally be very, very good in Japanese because they take voice acting super seriously, and it's like, something that you really have to study. It's not like you just fall into it like people can tend to do over here. From what I understand, it's like a very like disciplined kind of thing that you go through or whatever. But but until like any other language or whatever, it's like if you're not like fluent in it and like a native speaker, you're not going to understand if their inflections sound natural or not. Even if you understand what they're saying, even if you hear it and you're like, well, that sounds good. The voice sounds good and the emotion sounds good. And one example that I always give of stuff like that is if you ever played some games where they made like an English version, but it was just done in Japan by random people who spoke English. And I'm sure people heard this and are like, oh, that sounds good because, it has emotion. But then if it's a line like, I remember playing some game once where there was a line like, no, there's a grenade or whatever. And it's like, well, it sounds like the guy's yelling. His voice matches the character, right? But then it's like for a native English speaker, you're like, no, that inflection sounds laughable, Yeah. So I'm always telling people, it's like, whenever it's a language that's not your first language, I feel like it's a lot easier because you're not knowing whether the delivery sounds natural or not. You just know the emotion fits, the voice fits, it sounds good to me.
Right. And also sometimes it's just the first version you hear. Like I know people will say the same thing about reverse about Dragon Ball. Like they're so used to the dub, if they hear the original voices, they think it sounds weird. It's just real. I think a lot of it also depends on just what you hear.
Oh,
first,
absolutely. It's
fine.
why like
but that doesn't.
It's so hard as a voice actor if you ever have to replace a voice in something. I mean, even back on the day in like, you know, Flash animations or this or that, sometimes I would take over a role if like they lost contact with the original actor. Like, you know, I used to be in a cartoon called Bonus Stage way back in the day.
I remember that cartoon.
And
yeah.
I came in at like episode 75 or something. And the character that I played had been voiced by the creator of the series, who was a guy, and he would just pitch up his voice.
Right.
And, you know, normally you think people would be like, yay, we're going to get an actual girl to play it. But because, I mean, they were just so used to that, like, pitched up
voice. 74
exactly,
episodes.
because that's what they've heard and that's what sounds normal. So it's like, whoa, why is this person coming in? You know what I mean? It's like, people don't like getting used to a new thing, or whenever people are like, oh, the Japanese version is always better. I'm like, well, I think the original, like the performance in the original language tends to be good because they don't have all those restrictions on, you know, oh, we have to match what's already been done in a different language. But I'm like, okay, watch King of the Hill in Japanese. Watch the Japanese dub of Family Guy. Like, you'll do it for laughs, of course, but I'm like, you wouldn't watch that over, you know, something that was originally recorded in English. So
exactly.
I think a lot of times it is what you hear first and what it, you know, the language that it's originally in, I think tends to be kind of the best to watch.
Kind of what you compare it to.
I mean, there's some like Cowboy Bebop is just phenomenal in English, for example. Fooly Cooly was really good in both languages.
Yeah, and I think it depends on the localization too. Like, I think a really phenomenal English script can really bring up a good dub. And so, I guess, bottom line, people, give dub actors a break. You know, it's not their fault. At least not, you know, there are so many different factors, and I guess just something I want people to, I guess, keep in mind when they, if you're the type of person who's like, oh, all English dubs suck, maybe think about the stuff we talked about, and, you know, give, you know, at least ease off a little bit. That's
you know, just the fact that things are coming a long way. Like I was thinking about Ace Attorney recently because I beat Spirit of Justice like last month finally because I had to restart at one point when my DS got stolen, so it took me longer than it should have to beat it and stuff. But it's like, you know, now that there's cutscenes, like little cutscenes and stuff, like, yay, my Trucy! They you know, they actually moved to getting actors to do it, because I've been playing the Phoenix Wright games for like a decade, and when all they had were the objections and the hold-its, they just had like random employees from the localization team do it. And I remember thinking like, I should go work for Capcom someday, and then maybe I can be a voice in Ace Attorney. And then, you know, and then they moved to using actors once they started getting cutscenes like in Dual Destinies. But yeah, so it's like, you know, hey, at least things are... And I feel like the quality that people are expecting has gone up too, because you look at, say, something like Overwatch, where the voice acting is just phenomenal. And, you know, it's like if you took a game of that caliber and put just random people who weren't actors in it or whatever, it's like people would be like, what is this? You know?
Right. Especially because video games and even anime to an extent have become more mainstream and become, they're much less niche now. Like, even though anime is still slightly niche, but it's still definitely in the public eye much more. And so I think the standards for everything, because, you know, compared to, like, you know, 20 years ago, the voice acting, or 10 years ago, and now there's a huge jump, especially because video games are more cinematic now. So I think people are appreciating voice acting more now, which I think is good. I've always want people to appreciate the good stuff and, you know, I guess just appreciate it in general. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sitting down and talking. Why don't you... Where are you at? Plug some... I know, first of all, check out the Voice Acting Club.
Yes.
And what's the website for that?
Voiceactingclub.com, so it's super easy to remember.
Okay. And then where can we find you on social media?
Twitter at Rinachan, Rinachan. I have a Facebook page you can follow. You can just look up my name, or the URL for it is Kira Voices. And then I don't really post on Instagram too much, but my account on there is Killer Coffee Queen.
Okay. And is there anything out right now that you want people to check out that you have voiced in, or stuff that's been semi-recently?
Yeah, Fire Emblem Heroes, obviously.
Obviously.
I have something so exciting coming out, like, soon-ish.
Okay.
I wish I was going to say the exact date, and I'm like, no, people could look up what's coming out on that date, and someone might guess, so, but there's
okay.
a big thing that I really want to talk about that I can't, but...
Okay.
Soon.
Well, if you follow her on social media, you'll see it. So, anything else you want to mention? I know you were in Hunter x Hunter. Which, I love Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I was Zushi. Yeah. My arc finished, unfortunately, but check it out if you haven't.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Any last roles you want to throw out there, or should we wait for that big announcement?
Wait for the big one, but let's talk about some of the stuff that I did with you too, real quick.
Okay, sure.
Because I know I did a couple comic dubs for you. So
yeah,
what I did Athena for one of them.
You did. For Ghost Trick, you helped me out with one of those.
That's
I will
right.
link those to you. I will email those to you.
I loved that game. I'd forgotten about it.
I love Ghost Trick. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think if you go to my voice acting Tumblr, Prozd Voices, I believe I have tagged you or something. So if you guys want to check those out, and I'll probably just link them in the description too. But she has helped me out quite a few times, and I've always been very appreciative. And I will send those to you for sure. I thought I did, but I guess it just slipped my mind. So thank you very much. And I will see you guys next episode. Thank you very much again.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.